Welcome everyone. This is Michael from the Marks Group Live, happy to be reviewing Zoho Forms to CRM. After this video is over, please feel free to email us at support@marksgrouplive.com for any questions on this topic or on anything else Zoho. Also, please be sure to rate this class as well, helping out your fellow Zoho users and helping us to improve our video library. Now, Zoho Forms is a powerful tool for gathering information from people, whether they're inside or outside your organization. We already have at least one or two videos in our Marks Group Live library on using forms, so I won't get too deeply into the generalities or the fine-grained details. Instead, in this video, I'm going to focus on an actual situation where you might want to gather information from possible leads and get that information into your Zoho CRM in the quickest possible way. So in our very short video today, we are going to create a web form that you might use at a trade show or at a conference, and we're going to connect that web form to your Zoho CRM. And we'll see how that actually works. We'll see it in action. Now, before we get into our Zoho screens, one word of advice. If your screen doesn't look exactly like mine, okay, that's one word of advice. Let's make it two words of advice. Don't panic. Your Zoho instance might be set up slightly differently from mine, and there may be some differences in some of the screens. Most of what I demonstrate today should work equally between all versions of Zoho with minimal differences. If you try to replicate what I do in the video today and you get stuck, drop us an email at support@marksgrouplive.com and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Before we get into the actual building of the form, though, I'd like to clarify exactly the situation that we're modeling here. In one of my side gigs, I'm a co-founder in a very, very small company, like the smallest company you could have if the word company strictly means more than one person. So to generate leads and sales, my partner and I go to trade shows and conferences. And while we're there, we will usually purchase the local lead retrieval app. But sometimes people fall through the cracks, or they don't enter enough information into the lead retrieval portal, or whatever. Some people are more comfortable completing a slip of paper or a web form than having their ID tags scanned. Sometimes we're crazy busy and we don't have time to talk with people who still want to know more about our products. Now, we tried having a sign-up sheet, and we always get people putting their names onto it, and that's wonderful, except that the handwriting is often quite impossible to read. So instead, let's set up a tablet and access a Zoho form so that interested people can enter their information in a way that's easy for them to enter, easy for us to read, and wonderfully set up so that it automatically enters those people into our Zoho CRM as a new lead. Let's head over to forms.zoho.com to get started. Now, I'm going to create a new form by clicking on the New Form button over on the right. It's the big green one. And I'm going to call this form Great to Meet You. Now, last time I looked, Zoho didn't actually have a lead collector form, so I'm going to start with a blank form. The first time that you're dealing, or the first few times that you're dealing with Zoho Forms, definitely take a look at the templates. So we're going to say, great to meet you. Now, the reason I make it nice and inviting, the reason I don't call it Contact Form 003.5, is because the people who are completing this form are going to see this title in their web browser. And collecting information for our spam-loving marketing department probably isn't something you want to admit, no matter how true it might be. So we'll call it Great to Meet You. I'm going to add some text at the top here so that it's clear to people that we will use this information for marketing purposes. So, by completing this form, you agree that we may contact you with information about our products and services. Oopsie. You are free to unsubscribe at any time. Right. You may need to check with your legal department to make sure that this text passes muster. But at any rate, we'll leave it at this for now. Zoho thinks about it, and now it invites me to start building the information that I might want to see. And let's do that. I'm going to switch over to Zoho CRM for a moment, because what I need to do is I need to see what, well, actually, we'll take a look at, I'll explain what it is, what I'm doing it. Here is our Zoho CRM, and here's my leads module, and I'm going to try to create a new lead, and you'll see why in just a moment. When I create a new lead, first name, last name, and company, these three fields have a red line, a red vertical line on the left. And what this means is that these are required fields. What this means in terms of our Zoho form is that our Zoho form has to gather this information, or has to have this information somewhere in the field, in the form that gets sent over to Zoho CRM. Otherwise, the magic is not going to work, because the leads module is going to say, hey, I need first name, last name, and company. And so if that information doesn't come out of my form, my form isn't going to automatically come into my Zoho leads. So here is my Zoho leads module. I'm sorry, my forms application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a name. Off on the left, on the right side, we have the properties. Let me expand that window just a hair and move it over so that, okay. All right, so off on the right, we have the name, instructions. This is fairly straightforward. And I'm going to say that it's a mandatory field, because if it isn't a mandatory field, people might not include that information. And then again, I won't be able to get my leads automatically entered into Zoho. I'm going to have a company as well. So that'll be just a single line field. And the title will not be single line. The title will be company. And I'm going to set an initial value here as NA. And I'll set it as mandatory as well. Now, the reason I'm going to put the NA in there is because if I don't put something in there, Zoho's, well, if I put something in there and the user, the person, the visitor at the trade show, if they don't put anything in that field, there will still be something in it. So Zoho CRM won't be upset if that's left blank. The email address is something that's always helpful to have. Let's get a phone number as well. And I'm going to have another single line field. And this one I'm going to call conference. And I'm actually going to hide this field. And for now, I'll just have an initial value. 2019 Summer AF or AGF conference. I actually don't know what AGF is. If I have somehow inadvertently done something surprising there, I do apologize. But I don't know what AGF would be. So, but I'll set that as a mandatory thing. So whatever conference we are going to next, you would set the initial value for that to be the conference. This way, it's automatically filled in, and we're hiding the field, so that this way the user doesn't actually need to enter that information. But this is going to be handy. This is going to be handy, and we'll see why it's handy when we take a look at Zoho CRM. Now that I've set all that up, I'm going to save my work. It's off on the right. It's slightly out of the view of your screen. It's off on the right there. All right. So You may be wondering also, if you've used Forms before, why I'm not doing anything with the Zoho CRM button. That's because it's not terribly useful when I'm gathering leads from people who aren't already in my organization. If I bring a CRM field over, that is a field that I can actually bring over from my Zoho CRM. And in this use case, I'm actually focused on moving data to my CRM, so I'm going to ignore that for the time being. We may do a video on that. It might be a good one to deal with. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to move my data from this form over to my Zoho CRM. And the easiest way to do that is if I click on the, I've saved my work already. Up in the top, I've got the Integrations tab. I'm going to click on that. As you can see on the left side, there are an awful lot of possible integrations, including a number of Zoho products, a lot of Zoho products. We can take this data, bring it straight into a Google Sheet, into a Salesforce CRM, Zapier, and of course, once you're dealing with Zapier, the Zapier service accesses so many different, or gives you access to so many different other services. We might almost say it's an awful lot of them. All right, so what I'm going to do is, here I've selected Zoho CRM, and so my form entries are going to come to my Zoho CRM, and I'm going to click Integrate. The magic has begun. I want to bring this information into my Leads module, and I'll choose the standard layout. Next, I'm going to map the fields. Zoho prompts me with fields that are absolutely mandatory, but I can integrate any of my Forms fields with a corresponding CRM field. So these three are mandatory. You remember that in our Zoho CRM, let's look at that for a moment. In our Zoho CRM, there we are. In our Zoho CRM, company, first name, and last name are required fields. So not surprisingly, when Zoho Forms is attempting to integrate my form with Zoho CRM, it sees that those fields are required. So company, probably makes sense for company to go to company. First name, name first, and last name, name last. And I can add additional fields as well. So we've got company, first name, last name. Let's say, what other fields do we have? I think we had the email field. Let's put that into email. And I think we had one other field in our form. That was the phone number. And we'll map that to phone. Now, let's see. Okay, so down lower, we have the actions area. This is powerful. So once my lead has entered my Zoho CRM, I can trigger a CRM workflow. I can add information from a form as an attachment. I can send an approval request to another member of my team. I can capture a GCLID. That's the AdWords ad information. I can update a record. I can set assignment rules, and I can tag records using tags. And there is at least one video in our Zoho CRM library, on our Marks Group Live library on using tags. Right now, I'm not going to worry about that. Oh, there was one other field that I wanted, wasn't there? No, I guess there wasn't. No. Okay, so we'll just leave it at these fields, and I'm just going to click on the Integrate button. I get a brief pop-up here from Zoho from Zoho Forms that my integration is successful. Now, I'm going to test this module to show it to you in action. So let me pull up another web browser window. Let's see if I can bring that up here. Let's go for this one. Let's see. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my access form here, and that's what my form looks like. So this is what my form would actually look like on a web browser, but thanks to the magic of responsive pages in Firefox, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into responsive design mode, and I'm going to say pretend that this is an iPad. So this is exactly how the form would look on an iPad. I could show you what the form might look like on say an iPhone 6. That's what the form would look like. So whether I have an iPhone or an iPad at my booth at the conference or the trade show, Bill, let's see, oops, there we go. Bill, trade show goer. Company, I'll leave not applicable. Email is bill.t@notarealdomain.com, and the phone number is 555-555-1212, and I will submit this form. There. So when the user has finished submitting the form, that's what happens when my trade show attendee has finished that, and I will just click on that so that the next person who comes to my booth is ready. Now, in my leads module, let's see, has Bill showed up yet? Sometimes it takes a few moments for a new contact from the leads module, from the forms application to show up in the leads module. So we might refresh this screen a few times. If it's not showing up yet, I'm sure that it will shortly. For a while we're waiting for that. Let's see, we've already done this. We've taken a look at those things. Those are the fields that I want. I clicked on the integration tab. So here's what we did in this session. And I promise we'll come back to our Zoho CRM in just a few moments to see whether the new lead has come in from Zoho Forms. So here's what we did in this session. We created a web form in Zoho Forms, and we connected that web form to our CRM. That's all that it took. Let's go back, see if it's come in now. And there it is. There's Bill. Oops, you can't see it. I'm on the wrong screen. Let me hide that for a moment. There we are. Here is my Zoho Leads module. Let's go to just the leads. Oops. Let's go to the leads. And let's say, there's Bill, the trade show goer. Has just come in to my Zoho CRM automatically, required no coding whatsoever. All that I did was I set up the form and I told the form to please upload its data automatically and within a minute or two to our Zoho CRM. That's all there is to it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If do check out our library for other videos like this one. If you have questions about other classes, if you have suggestions for other classes, or questions on anything to do with Zoho, please email us at support@marksgrouplive.com. And thanks for viewing.